Rob Mob, what is going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of PolishRob's Cards and Zards. Today we got an awesome guest hanging out with us. He was generous enough to go ahead and take time out of his day to come and hang out with me, with you, the Rob Mob, and answer some tough questions in the Pokemon community. Guys, put your hands together for the one and only Rusty from TCA Gaming. Rusty, I'm gonna get right to it. How much does a Snorlax weigh?
Well, I got a Snorlax right here. 1,014 pounds.
I honestly did not expect you to have a Snorlax on standby because I was going to say enough to break the ice. What's going on? My name is PolishRob. Nice to meet you, Rusty. But that joke went out the door. But dude, thanks, dude. Thanks for coming out, man. It means a lot to me that you came out, hung out with us, and took time out of your day to, I'm sure you got a busy schedule. You got a lot going on. You got a lot of buying, a lot of selling that you do. So the fact that you came out and hung out with us, man, I really appreciate it. So thanks for that. So Rusty, you are a full-time Pokemon buyer and seller. Like, that's all you basically do from what I've gauged in the last, year or so that I've been watching your channel.
That's correct.
So how did that come about? Like, how did it all start? What was the deciding factor? Like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is where the path is going to take me.
Well, when I graduated college in 2012, I was still selling part-time when I was doing my student teaching. And when I graduated, I just decided to go ahead. I was fully licensed as a teacher, but I told myself, you know what, I'm going to just try to spend 8 hours a day or more and see if I can make a go at this. Mm-hmm. And just kept working out to where every day I was making more money than I would as a teacher. And I told myself this is something I could really build on, so I just stuck with it.
That's freaking awesome. What was like your first kind of like big sale where you're like, whoa, like it was kind of like, like a googly eyed kind of like popping out of the head moment for you as far as Pokemon?
I think it was about 2011. I remember selling a PSA 9 first edition Ninetales for $90, and I told myself, if I can make $100 a day, I can live off of that, no problem.
That's freaking wild. I mean, what's a Ninetales like that going for now in this market?
Probably over $1,000.
That's crazy. That's freaking crazy. Well, yeah. I mean, it's insane. Like, you would never, at least in my personal opinion, like I would have never thought like that could take, like I can do that, And it's just crazy how basically an empire you've built for yourself, just through Pokemon. I mean, do you mostly do everything just like out of your house, or do you have like a shop that you like to go to or frequent? Like, where do you conduct most of your business at?
Right behind me here is where I work, and it connects directly over to my house. I had a shop. I got rid of that because the overhead was pretty insane. So I basically put a wall in my bedroom, or I put a hole in the wall, put a door right there, and so I walk out of my bedroom in the morning and directly through a breezeway straight over to this shop that we built on our land.
That's freaking awesome, man. I mean, that's the dream, right? To just make you work from home. Like, you can roll out of bed, head over, a couple doors down, and there you are in your workspace and freaking killing it, man. Dude, I enjoy your channel a lot. You are very knowledgeable in Pokemon. Like, some of the things that you bring up in your videos absolutely blows my mind. I think you're like super knowledgeable in like all the error cards, all the misprints, like things that I would have never thought of to even look at to make a card valuable. Like clockwork. Did that take a lot of studying, or is it just something that you like found throughout your Pokemon journey?
It mainly come about through just the interest and over time. A lot of the stuff that I focused on when I was first starting was the errors. I mean, it was a much higher margin on that kind of stuff. I remember for the longest time, I tried finding an error war turtle, and I just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I knew about it was because I saw someone had listed one. I think it was Brian something or another. It wasn't the Brian Japan guy, but it was some other one, Brian Bannon maybe, on eBay. And he was this thing for, I think it was $600. And at that time, I mean, you can get a PSA 9 first edition Charizard for $300. But then it got sold, and I couldn't find one for the longest time, and I was offering $500. And now, I mean, after it come out and it was well known, people were paying, just $100 for that thing. But I was just super interested in those cards because you could find a common war turtle in just anyone's random collection, whereas you probably wouldn't find a first edition 9 PSA 9 Charizard.
Makes sense.
And I still want something like that in a random collection.
That's wild. I mean, uh, I can, like I said, I can only imagine like trying to retain all that kind of information. Like I have trouble retaining some of the information in my collection, like trying to find out the rarity or the scarcity or whatnot. But you got another hunt that you're doing right now. I actually watched it from your video today. You want to talk about the new hunt that you have going on for a certain error card out there?
Talking about the Dark Dragon?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to pull one of those things. Ideally, I'd like to pull every one of the errors out of a booster pack. I've never done the No Stage Blastoise. I've never done the first edition Ivy Pikachu. I've never done the War Turtle. And, I would love to do the Dark Dragonite as well. Dark Dragonite, we at least know, how it's distributed, or we've seen the unlimited come from the long packs, and we've seen the first edition now come from the regular booster packs. But some of these other errors we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Like the No Damage Ninetales, you got the theme deck, and I've got one of those sealed decks, so we know it comes out of that. We have the proof behind it, and we know, about a little bit about the distribution. But some of these other ones, it'd just be nice to actually find out, what kind of pack, maybe what print run it come from, what to look for. That kind of stuff, it just interests me, so that's why I go for it.
That makes sense. Do you have any interest as far as like, or at least an idea, I think, of how many, let's say, base set booster boxes there are out there first edition, about how many first edition Charizards are out there? Have you done research like that to find out, because obviously you're really into the misprints and the error cards and whatnot. Have you done research in kind of that realm to find out what cards are or boxes are very limited right now in the current market? I know that like a lot of people open and break some now, so obviously decreases the amount out there, but do you kind of have a roundabout idea of what might be?
What's left? No. And I don't think anybody does. You got to think the unlimited Pokemon base set, it was just printed into the ground. And that's why you see these things just popping up time and time after again. And I was just talking with Charlie, and he was like, man, I could source 1,000 unlimited base set boxes, probably no problem, just myself.
Wow.
And I couldn't, I got to hear it, and it's like, you know what? This set was printed over and over and over and over. And that's why, they say it's into the millions for cards like unlimited Charizard that was printed, and even I think the first edition Charizard, I've heard numbers thrown out to where like up to 10,000 copies of that card, maybe even more of it. And I could see it. For the longest time, I'd go on eBay and I would literally buy one or two first edition Charizards every week for a year, and you would always just be able to buy them. They'd keep coming up. They'd come from people all over the world. I know people who have over a dozen first edition Charizards, other than Gary, of course. He's got all those. But I think there was 12 different print runs for the unlimited base set, which is just crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty crazy. Pokemon was starting out at that point, at least as far as the English version, so they were just trying to get the word out there, right? So I can see where they printed just a mass ton of it, and people were buying them up and stored them away somewhere, and then now they're popping up. As far as market goes, I had a question as far as market goes. So when did you see as far as like buying, when did you see the first moment where like things started becoming scarce on buying and selling on eBay, or just to get in general? When did you finally see that spike in product just leaving the shelves?
Well, I guess it depends on what sets maybe you're referring to. Like if you're talking about base set, it's always been on eBay. You can still find it now. It's just the prices went up. It's still available. You can still go find a base set box for $12,000 on eBay.
Yeah.
Sold one just the other day for $13,200. It was the highest price that I've ever sold an unlimited base set booster box for.
That's crazy.
And that was like full cleared after fees and everything. And just a year ago this time, you're talking about $2,500, maybe $3,000 for that same box.
Yeah.
The whole time you've still been able, like even though the prices went up 4 or 5 times since then, you've still been able to find them at any given time on eBay and other markets as well. People continue to open, but they're not super scarce. Now, there are some things that are really scarce. I don't deal with the trophies that much just because I'm not as knowledgeable on the Japanese side. But some of these errors they are getting really, really tough to find. I was able to snag PSA 10 No Stage Blastoise for $3K, and I'm so glad that I did. At that point, it was I think it was 5 to 6 times more than the regular unlimited PSA 10. But even now, just a PSA 10 Blastoise is already knocking on that price, which is just kind of, if you think about it, the No Stages pop 6.
Yeah.
And I don't see many of those ever grading again.
That's crazy. What do you think caused the spike? In your personal, professional opinion, what do you think actually skyrocket the price in Pokemon.
Well, I mean, it was long overdue. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there that, I mean, you could go and buy, at the time, you could buy a fossil booster box for what, $900? Or you could go buy 5 or 6 new boxes that, have been out 6 months versus 20
Yeah.
years. So why wouldn't you buy that fossil booster
Yeah.
box? And then the cards inside, there's a lot of potential for that. I mean, just how much revenue some of these YouTubers that are really big could make off of opening them up on YouTube. I mean, it'd pay for itself just opening the stuff up. There's a lot of nostalgia that you got to factor into the market. A lot of the people that were playing this game when it first came out, they were kids. Now they're getting knocking on 30 years old, if not older. I mean, I just turned 30 or a month and a half ago, and we have more disposable income. And of course, what happened, with this virus. I mean, there's a lot of things that kick-started it. Even quite a bit more with some of these PSA 10 cards. When you have competition, I mean, it's just a really healthy market. So I mean, there's a lot of factors I think that play into it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That you make a strong point on there, which leads me to my next question. Do you think it's gonna fall a little bit in the next, let's say, I don't know, 6 months? Do you think the prices are going to drop, or do you think they're going to stay even, or do you think they're going to increase?
I think overall, I would think that they are going to fall a little bit. I don't think they're going to go down too much, and there are going to be plenty of things that do continue to go up, like the really rare, scarce items or really high demand stuff. But we've already started to see a little bit of a fall. And I think that has to do with a lot of stuff opening back up. You've got people during the summertime. For me, summertime has always been my lowest time of the year, and I think it's because so many people are actually out taking vacations. They're not spending as much time worrying about adding on to their collection or getting another card in. And then usually for me, it stabilizes a little bit once school starts again, because then you have people getting in their school money, trying to spend that.
Of course,
you've got people add on to their collection because they've missed it for the past few months, or they're meeting up with their buddies, or they're going to play at local tournaments again. And you got to think, with all these Pokemon leagues that have been shut down, I mean, that's also affecting the market on the newer side, because the playability of cards really isn't playing into the price point as much. I mean, you got to think the Dedenne GX, I mean, it was like a $40, $50 playable, and even when it was still playable, after what happened, with the virus and what was going on, I was selling PSA 10s for $30 when you could get the at the time that I submitted it, ungraded, it was worth $40 to $50.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the market has just taken a huge, crazy turn. And I think you said your slower times were during the summer. But now with the COVID thing and everybody being at home, I feel like that summer for you, right, was probably something that you're not used to.
Yeah, June was a big month. July was a big month. I mean, I've started to notice a slowdown towards the end of July.
Okay.
But the sales are still coming through. It's just the big sales they're pretty much as frequent as they were. It's just the smaller sales have started to taper off a little bit. And maybe that was because I took, a vacation. I mean, it could also be because I've had a few things going on in my life since the vacation with my family that I've had to deal with. So maybe I just haven't had as much attention, in these past 2-3 weeks given to eBay. I mean, because from what I hear, I mean, sales are still going really good for other places. And even though it's slowed down a little bit, it's still been top 5-10 months that I've ever had on eBay.
Yeah, no doubt. And by the way, best wishes to your family out there. Hope everything is going great for you now and things are starting to fall into place. Rusty, I got another question for you. This one's actually coming from the Q&A in the live stream. It says, question for Rusty. How can boxes sell for so much over what is actually worth inside? He says, ZNG has shown the base box in 50% loss from what's inside.
Well, not everyone's opening up just to get, the average pull from what's inside. Sometimes people, when they open up the box, they're including the thrill of just opening it up and reliving their childhood memories. They're also including, hey, I have a shot at pulling, some crazy card, like a first edition or like a Charizard or a No Stage Blastoise or something like that. So they're willing to just take that risk because you have a risk versus loss. When he does those numbers, I mean, you're looking at the average for what you would expect.
Correct.
If you opened up, say, 100 base set boxes, then most likely you would lose out 50% of your money. Whereas if you just open up one box, then you've got a shot, possibly making your money back, but you probably won't. So that's why it's usually a losing game when you open up a box. However, some people are willing to take that risk.
For sure, I agree. I mean, I even think with the more modern sets too, it's the same kind of scenario, right? You're only looking for that one card, and most of the cards, if you don't get that one card, most of the cards in there, it is going to be a losing box, right? You're not going to get your money back. Maybe if we talk about Hidden Fates, that might be a different story right now because I think I mean, you can disagree with me for sure, but I think the Hidden Fates market is absolutely insane right now, especially for individual cards at the PSA 10. But I think normally, typically, if you open any kind of, let's say, Darkness Ablaze when it comes out, or Sword and Shield, or even Cosmic Eclipse, right? If you don't get that Charizard card or Zacian card, whatever the case may be, it's pretty much going to be a losing box, right?
Sometimes, I mean, it depends on how far you're willing to break down your booster box. When I used to open up cards and I started off with this modern product, I would literally open everything up and I would sell every single common, every single reverse holographic card, all the rares. I would make lots. I would sell the holographic cards. I would grade the best of the best and wait for those to come back. I would sell the codes and I would open it up on YouTube. And there's plenty of ways you can maximize the amount of money that you get out of that booster box. However, you have to put the work in.
Correct.
The less work you put in, then the less. I mean, you're probably not going to make as much money. I mean, you have to put in, what you want to get back out of it.
So how many times, that actually brings up a random question for me. How many times more, I got to word the question correctly first. How many more times do you think you can make your money from a booster box doing something like that opposed to sending just your cards in to somebody for bulk?
Well, sometimes I do send cards in for bulk myself as well. But like I said, if you have the time and you can sell out, even if you have to make play sets of every single common and sell it on eBay for 99 cents, if you play it right and you buy your stamps for 30 cents a piece and you take your 10% or whatever it is, 15% in fees off plus your 30% transaction fee, say you only get, 15, 20 cents profit out of that $1, you're going to make more than by selling it in bulk. And then when people order 2, 3, 4, 5 play sets of cards, then you're really increasing how much money you're making per card. It's all about the amount of time and work that you have and you have the ability to do.
I think that's honestly very great information. And for anybody out there watching right now, take some notes. That's freaking awesome stuff. I mean, there's definitely people out there that have an influx of cards that they don't even know what to do with. And maybe during this COVID time, they have the time you said to just sit down and look through the cards and maybe do something like that. Because from what I see, the market is just still crazy right now. It's still going. People are buying and I don't see it, people not buying anytime soon, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying. And see, I used to sell every single card down to, to the individual common and even the energies. There's ways that you can make money on. You just have to get a little creative and make sure that you're giving out good business. And for me, there was mornings where I'd wake up and I'd have 400 different orders that I would have to figure out. And a lot of them, I would say the majority of them are 99 cents or $1.99. And putting in that time over and over and over again, you get a lot of customers that want to come back and they're willing to pay, an extra 50 cents the next time or an extra 20% next time because they know who they're dealing with. And I put in, I think when I checked it the other day, it was 232,000 unique transactions through eBay.
Wow.
And I would say that 90% of those are under $10 a piece.
Wow, that's absolute insane. That's a lot of freaking transactions, Pokemon related. Rusty, what does it take for a card to enter your personal collection?
I don't know. I just got to want it. I mean, today I was getting ready to list a PSA 9 first edition Blastoise, and I'm like, no, I think I'm going to just keep this because for me, I see the price going up, but I see how much it's already went up, and I think it's one of those cards that's just going to get more and more desired by other collectors.
Yeah.
Even though, it's not going to regrade a 10. In fact, I think it's probably an 8. I'm going to show that in a video upcoming very soon.
Nice.
But I just like it. I mean, I like the artwork. And then if it ever gets to the point where I don't like the card anymore, or I just want to sell it, I think whatever it's worth on eBay is more than how I personally value it, then I'm going to sell it.
Yeah, no doubt. So who frequently wins the battle? Is it the collector Rusty or is it the seller Rusty?
Well, the collector Rusty wins out on the higher end stuff, and the seller Rusty wins out on the lower end stuff. The way I see it, if I can sell the stuff that I have extra of and that I don't, or that I see quite often, or that is just lower end, if I can sell that, I'm going to sell that first. if I ever run out of that stuff and I still need money, then I start dipping into my personal collection.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, have you ever sold a lower end card that you're like, oh yeah, this card's never going to be really worth too much, you know, I'm going to go ahead and sell it off, and then the tide turns, and then all of a sudden, like, it's just this booming card that you never expected to go ahead and raise eyebrows for a price?
I probably have. Let me think. Oh, I'll tell you one. The Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno GX from Hidden Fates. That SM210, I can't believe I saw one in auction today. It was like $168.
Wow.
And selling those in PSA 10 for like $30 in mass. Like, I was just selling them and selling them and selling them, because I did that same thing with the Jesse and the James, the regular full art, and some other cards. Like, I was selling them all for like $20 to $30 a piece. I had someone come through and wipe out like 20. It was quantity 20 of the Jesse and James all at once for $20 a piece.
Really?
And they got some kind of. They bought a bunch of them, and then I've got a few more in. I went to list them on eBay, and I couldn't believe the price increase that had happened on those.
Yeah, that's wild. Now that you bring that up too, like, I've opened a ton of Hidden Fates, right, on my channel, like a ton of Hidden Fates, and I got all these Jesse and James. I got these Giovannis, and like, I was like, well, am I gonna send them into PSA? Like, is this something I want to do? Because I think they could potentially get a 10, maybe a 9 here or there, but they're roughly really good shape. But now that you mention that, even those cards are going for that price. Like, I might have to rethink my PSA submission. So another question for you now that I brought up PSA. What do you think of? Well, they're not really a new grading company, right? But they're new into Pokemon. What do you think of this CGC? I believe it's called, grading company. What are your opinions and thoughts?
Well, from what I hear, I really like what I am hearing about how that they grade, the speed of service. I like their how they price out for their max declared value. I think that's a lot better, because it's going to make the higher end cards a lot easier to grade. I like the fact that they have Charlie on their side.
Yeah.
You know, he's there. He's giving them all the information that they need to hear. I trust him. He's very, very knowledgeable in this game. He's been around forever. And so I think they're making all the right steps. If they can execute and they can do it over time, and they can keep their turnaround speeds fast, and have really good customer service, I think that they can get their foot into this market. It's going to be tough to push out PSA, especially here in the beginning, because of how deep a lot of these collectors are in getting their PSA 10s. I mean, I'm guilty of that myself. You know, I want a PSA 10 of all the cards that I collect. So, I mean, now the ones that I have, I mean, I'm not going to just sell them off for CGC.
Yeah.
But I think that they offer a lot of the stuff that PSA doesn't, and PSA is not going away. I don't see that happening anytime soon. But if CGC, you know, capitalizes on every place that, you know, PSA is not, then I think that they've got a good shot in the market. I mean, for me, I just got in some more Ancient Muse sealed cards graded. I have three different, you know, cards. It's all the same card, but they're graded separate ways. Like, one of them is labeled black letters, one of them's not labeled anything. And then in another one, the card's turned around backwards. Like, they put the wrong direction.
What?
And so for me, I just don't like that, and having to go through the process of waiting 6 months for them to correct something like that. It really just puts a bad taste in my mouth for the whole experience.
Which makes sense. Which definitely makes sense. So do you plan on making any big submissions to them anytime soon? Or have you already?
I've put in a few. We're just going to see how I've put in some cards that PSA would not take. So I think that's going to be their biggest category in the beginning, taking cards like square cuts or errors, or I don't know if they're going to do FPOs or not, but I actually submitted a special type of sheet to them, and I think because I had quantity, they're potentially going to do that. I think they're going to be doing packs as well. I've had over 70. It was like roughly 70% of my packs that I sent into them 11 months ago just returned back to me ungraded.
Wow.
You know? And I have the exact same ones sitting up here in my rafters. You probably can't make it out, but I have graded, and then they turned around and sent a bunch of the same stuff that I sent in, saying they don't have any information on it, saying that they won't grade them now. So I mean, that's really frustrating for that stuff.
Doubt. Well,
and I think they're going to plan to grade some of those pack things.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I can see it definitely from your standpoint, right? Like, you buying some Pokemon, like, if you're sending product out there and that you're anticipating to get back so you can sell, you know, it could be pretty frustrating when it comes back non-graded, or, you know, because that's a loss, right? And, well, that's not really a loss, but it's you got to sit on it a lot longer than you were anticipating to. Now, as far as pricing goes, if you were to put the same card from CGC and PSA on eBay, would you price them the same, or is one going to be higher than the other? If they were the same grade.
It depends on the grade. I think if it was a CGC 10, I'd probably price it higher than the PSA 10. 9.5. I think it's going to be similar to BGS, just not quite as extreme on the 10. I think that they are PSA is going to be more searched. People are going to be looking for it. But if you have a CGC 9 versus a PSA 9, the CGC may very well be, a better condition, but nobody's going to want this CGC 9 right now.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future the market will be different, but people are going to prefer the PSA 9 because it's going to fit into their collection. It's got a broader appeal.
Correct. Yeah. How long do you think CGC will actually make a pretty big impact in the Pokemon market?
I think as long as they're cranking out the service and turning around cards at a fast speed and grading things, especially that PSA will not, like PSA won't. That's a lot of well-known documented errors and other cards like that. As long as they're doing that, then I think they're going to have a presence.
For sure. And I mean, it seems like you've not waited back, right? Like you're ready to roll with CGC, it seems like, in as far as, you're conducting your business. And I think I see you as an influencer for sure, especially in the buying sell market and your knowledge. I see a lot of people taking after you for sure and sending the CGC. Like if they're seeing you have videos with CGC cards and you're listing on your eBay and your website, I see a lot of people following suit for sure. And I see them potentially being valuable, just as valuable as a PSA or a Beckett grade for sure. So yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a market for sure. And I think you put it pretty straightforward. As far as that goes. I got another question also from the chat. It says, do you see there being an issue with the difference of grades each company gives? It's widely known BGS is harder on 10s than PSA.
Well, BGS, they have a premium on their 10 because it's tough to get. But a lot of the cards that are graded 8, 8.5, 7, 9 from BGS, to me, I think PSA is more strict on anything that would be the equivalent of BGS 9 and lower. I've looked at cards. I have so many Alpha Magic cards that are graded BGS 7.5, 8, 9. They wouldn't even come close to that on the PSA side. Yeah. BGS is at premium on that black label because it is really tough, and it is it's basically a pristine card. But it's so niche. There's so few cards that it would even matter on. You got the Charizard SV49. It matters some, but honestly not enough, and it's an exception, not the rule. Most of the cards, nobody's going to care if it's a BGS 10 or if it's a PSA 10 because they're not really collecting the card itself. WotC cards, you're not going to get the BGS 10 just because it's so tough. Yeah. You're probably going to get a 9 or 9.5. Yeah. And I don't care if that 9.5 is much better condition than the PSA 10. That PSA 10 is always going to bring a premium over the 9.5 from BGS.
Yeah, no doubt. So you've seen... which you're buying, so you've seen a ton of cards, right, in your lifetime as far as Pokemon. How typically correct are you with the grades that you grade? Like, obviously, you look at the card, you know what kind of grade it might get. How oftentimes are you correct on your analysis?
So with like raw review?
Yep.
Well, I've never actually ran the numbers, so I'm gonna throw a number out there, but it's a guess. Probably. For PSA, probably about 70% or so, and then almost always I'm within one grade.
Okay,
but usually I'm a little bit more strict than what PSA is in general, just because I'd rather a customer not want to grade through me when they send cards, like be a little extra strict than less strict. So I'd rather see a grade up just a little bit rather than grade down.
For sure. Now, what kind of card has been a shocker to you? Like you're like, I don't expect this card to get a good grade. You get it in, and it's just something you didn't expect. What card was that?
Okay, so I remember somebody sent me, his name was Ethan. It was a Charizard, and he said he thought it was a 9. I got it, and I'm like, it's probably a 7. And it come back a PSA 9, and I couldn't believe it because I was looking at it comparing to other cards, and I still wouldn't have given it a 9. It had some scratches in the hollow, whitening on the back in a few areas. it happens. He was right, and it paid off. He sent that card in.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you think happened? Maybe potentially with that submission. Do you think somebody was new, or do you think it just got overlooked, or just got lost in the pile? What do you think happened there?
Well, I think it was the first card on the submission, and maybe they were just being a little bit more lenient.
Okay, yeah, that.
So I see that sometimes, and usually the first 5 cards or so. But again, you might get someone super strict, and it goes the opposite way. But
Yeah.
in general, I would say in the very beginning or at the very end, you have a little bit more leniency because they're not as trying to be pushing themselves through.
Okay. Another question from the live chat here, Rusty. Where would you suggest sending new TCG sets to? Digimon, BGS, PSA, and CGC.
Digimon?
Yep.
Man, I don't even know. I don't deal with Digimon that much, so I mean, I guess it's whatever your preference is. I will say this: CGC has a much faster turnaround time for the price than PSA. PSA is advertising a turnaround time that really is quite slanted. I have some orders that were supposed to be 20-day that are still out there from March.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, if it's set and you need it back to turn back around, you may not want to go that direction. It may just get stuck there for 9 months.
Yeah. Do you
And I like. Don't get me wrong. I submit every single week to PSA, and I still do. But CGC has the potential to get it back to you faster.
No doubt. Do you think about tapping into the Digimon market yet, or have you thought about it?
There are a lot of markets that I've thought about tapping into, but man, I'm so overwhelmed with Pokemon. I mean, I have like just racks and racks of just stuff that I have no time to get to.
Yeah.
That I'm just going to sit until what I have, runs a little bit more dry, and then I'll start going into my back stock.
Makes sense. So another question for you: have you thought about the future? Do you see something else in the future for Rusty to grow even bigger? Have you thought about anything like that?
Well, maybe just some stuff on my website that I've looked into, like market affiliate linking, but I don't know, man. I guess we'll just have to see. I'm trying to crank out more and more with this PSA stuff, but last year I had one focus. It was just to sell on eBay, and now I've branched out to different areas. I think Jim at Pokemon has suggested Patreon to me, and then I started doing advertising on YouTube and different places like that. So I mean, I really don't know. The stuff kind of just comes all at once, and when it does, I try to capitalize on it and see if it works. But like one of my dud ideas, the magnetic inserts or whatever, like you put on the backside of a PSA card and you put it inside the PSA sleeve, and then you could stick it to a refrigerator
Hey, there
and
it is.
metallic service. But it didn't really go anywhere. I still got a bunch of the inserts, and because I didn't want to get into the production of making things that you could hang on the wall to frame this easily. I mean, it's an idea, but it was just too much work to head down that road. I needed to focus on the Pokemon stuff that I had.
Is that something you like patented at all, or like stamp that way? It's your idea, your blueprint.
Nah, I wouldn't even know what to patent anyways. It's just a magnet cut up. I mean, it was like that flexible magnet stuff, and then I would buy a whole roll and I'd have it slit to the exact size, and then you could stick it in there, and it would change. Like you could have a white or a different color backside for the PSA slab, and then you could basically, if you painted your wall with magnetic paint, then you could put it right on your wall, and you could do a whole set, or you could frame it up if you wanted to. But it just took away the whole framing aspect of it, so you didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, heck, I think it's still a good idea to look for sure. I mean, especially now, people are always looking for unique things. I mean, listen, the zipper was invented by somebody, right? And that family is just rolling in dough right now, and all they did was invent the zipper for some jeans. So who knows? Maybe it's something you need to go back and look to. Maybe you never know. But yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. So, have you ever thought about maybe, like you just mentioned, that you have all these cards, right, that you haven't even looked through or even had time to look through? Have you ever thought about hiring, like, a helping hand?
Yeah, but I don't think I'm going back to the employee route. I'd rather just let them sit, kind of forget about them, and then one day just go back through them and relive the nostalgia. And then if I need to grade them, I will. Like that, I don't know if I made a video on it or not, but I think I did, where I had this huge collection, basically every card from every set, including the gold stars, minty condition. I've just got all of them sets sitting in binders, sitting in a tub back there. If I ever need to find a Rayquaza Gold Star PSA 10 or a 9, maybe I can go grab that one and
Yeah.
submit it and get lucky.
Yeah, no doubt. Question: how often does Rusty regrade cards which don't receive a grade he thinks that it should?
Not very often. I used to set aside cards and think about regrading them, but I tell you what, a lot of the times when I pull them out, they were graded pretty accurately.
Yeah.
It's something that I miss myself. I keep all the extreme ones. I have a box. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, I had a Mewtwo graded a 2 that I think was probably a 9 or a 10. I had a Charizard graded a 7 that was probably like a 4. And I just keep the box, all of that stuff. But I do have one box that I'm accumulating that I may do a video on where I show all the pre-grades, crack them out, submit them, and just see if anything changes on them. Because a lot of times when I've tried this in the past, it just didn't work out. I remember there was a first Blastoise. It was a PSA 8. I thought it had a shot at a 10. I cracked it out, regraded it, come back an 8. I cracked it out, regraded it, come back an 8. So it didn't work out. I just wasted a bunch of money and time on that one. And then there was one other card that I remember doing. It was a Dark Raichu. I cracked it out. It was an 8, and it come back a 10. So I was right on that one. But I would probably say I've cracked less than a dozen in the past year. I rarely do it just because it's so time consuming, and most of the time I'm going to lose out.
Yeah, no doubt for sure. But a great question there by Golden War Turtle for sure. So briefly earlier, I mentioned your personal collection. Is there a price tag on your collection? Like if someone came up to you and said, "I'm going to give you this dollar amount," do you go off and sell, or do you still hold back and be like, I can't do it?
I don't know. It's hard to think about that because life-changing money is life-changing money. But if someone's at my door with cash, I don't know. I'm not even sure what my collection is worth. Like, if I went through and individually added up, would it only be worth $500,000? Or if I went through and added up, would it be worth $10 million? I really don't know. I don't have a lot of it cataloged. I mean, as I told you before, a lot of stuff I just have sitting in boxes. And you got to think about the potential, too. Like, I have bricks of, say, the Ho-Oh and Rapidash that 1,000 count. Those cards might be worth $3, $4 a piece ungraded, but you grade them, they're easy 10s, they're worth $50 a piece. So is that for $50,000 or is it worth $3,000? So I mean, a lot of times you got to factor in the potential for stuff too. So I don't know I guess if somebody walked up with 10 million cash, and I'd be like, you know what? But I don't know.
Yeah,
they might. I getting a good deal or a bad deal.
No doubt. So hypothetically, if you did sell, let's say, $10 million worth of cards, how fast would you start recollecting again? That's the real question here.
That's tough.
Would you just go on a hiatus, like take this huge break, be like, you know what? I'm going on vacation for 5 years. Like, count me out. I'm taking me, the family. We're out of here. Or do you go back on the computer the next day and you're like, all right, this is what I need to purchase and this is how fast I need to do it?
See, I think the hard part for me would be being on the computer, because I'm on the computer every single day and I get so many questions from people, and I'd probably say half of the emails are people saying, "Hey, will you buy my collection?" And a lot of times I'm just throwing out offers, as quick as I can, and people will take them. I bet I have over 100K in offers out at any given time, just because some people will take it, some people want over market value, some people won't. And so I mean, if I got on the computer and I started talking deals, I would probably just jump back into my habit and take any of the good deals that I could get. And if I couldn't, or if I didn't get on my emails, I'd probably just take a hiatus. I'd go live life, enjoy it with my kids.
I don't blame you.
Help them through teaching right now with all this mess going on with the virus.
That's tough.
They can't even go.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, for sure. It's just, I guess, right, everything kind of has a price potentially, but sometimes it just, maybe it doesn't. So, Rusty, do you enjoy opening more modern sets? Like, do you enjoy opening modern sets at all, or are you just more the vintage kind of opening? Like, does it thrill you to open, let's say, like Darkness Ablaze coming out anytime soon?
I'm going to, because I haven't opened up a single pack yet, and they have that Charizard VMAX card in there. It'll get mundane after a while because I'm literally having a pallet dropped off tomorrow with all kinds of stuff on it, and I don't want to open up that many packs because then just becomes a chore. So in the beginning, yeah, it's fun. But then after a while, it's like I've seen all these cards, I've got them memorized. I could tell you the card number. And
Wow.
for vintage sets, it's almost always a thrill because you're never going through and opening up 100 packs at a time, or two
Yeah.
packs, or 1,000 packs. You're opening up three
Yeah.
or four, and you
Yeah.
know what you want to pull. And there's a lot of different potential because every single really good card or variant has been sorted out. So every time you go through, let's say, a jungle pack, you're like, oh, there's a Venonat. Does it have a line on the side? And it doesn't. And then you go into another card. Oh, there's a Pikachu. Does it? The
Mm-hmm.
first edition, the Ivy promo Pikachu and the Butterfree. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can get excited, I think, with the packs that have already been sorted through. And then the newer stuff, it's exciting in the beginning. But then after a while, yeah, it's kind of like, all right, let's move on.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, right before I asked you that question, we were talking about you making deals for people that are selling their vintage sets. Now, do you conduct everything like that, like a big deal? Let's say like a 20K deal, right? Do you conduct everything online, or are you more or less like you want to meet this person and you want to physically see the set before you start dishing out the cash?
It depends on the person. I take every transaction, for itself individually.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy in Australia that I bought a first edition Charizard off of, the PSA 10, right before the price started going up for $40,000, and I had to basically get him a certified check here, ship it to him,
Wow.
and for a month it took them to process it because they had to ship it back here and then ship it back to Australia again. So I was just sitting in the dark with my money gone.
Wow.
But I tried doing it through PayPal. PayPal wouldn't approve the transaction from me to him. And I even called them. They're like, oh, yeah, we see how much you do. I'm going to let you talk to a manager. They're going to get your all these things up so you can do this deal for international stuff. And they couldn't do it. I mean, it was crazy. So I ended up having to do it that way. But I knew the guy. I've known him for so long, and we've done deals before. So I was willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
Whereas other deals, I mean, I wouldn't send $500, through the mail, for some random card that I didn't know. I mean, I try to keep track of everything, and if at all possible, keep yourself protected. Most of the time, what I tell people is if they want to avoid the fees when they're selling to me, then they can ship the product to me first. I have everything to lose, whereas they don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to risk my business
Correct.
over 500.
Correct.
So if they ship the product, I'll pay them however they want after I get the product.
Correct. Have you ever bought something from somebody that you were expecting big things, but it ended up kind of not become appealing to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times that I bought collections described packed fresh, mint condition, perfect condition, all the same stuff everybody's heard. And then you get it in, and it's just crap.
Yeah.
And they obviously either misadvertised or they didn't know what they were talking about because they weren't actually an active collector. It was just something that they remember getting when they were a kid. They don't remember the part where they stepped on it on the floor and scratched it with the dirt and then picked it up and threw it in the sleeve.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, that kind of reminds me of me, right? When I was a kid collecting first, like I was kind of a back pocket kid, right? So I would take the card, be like, oh my God, this card's amazing. I want to show everybody else. I'd slap it in my back pocket. And now, the Blastoise looks like origami. But, what can you do for sure? So yeah, I definitely see that, being an issue too. Like, oh, pack fresh, mint fresh, but like you get it and then, end up kind of getting burned on it, more or less. Which, what do you think of the Burning Shadows cards, right? Like in the recent, like I guess they did a reprint. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did a reprint of Burning Shadows, like during that era. A lot of the cards that I've opened in Burning Shadows have basically looked like they were cut by a butter knife, right? They got damages on the corners, damages on the edges. How many of those kind of cards have you ran into from Burning Shadows?
For Burning Shadows, if it's a full art or a textured card, sometimes even the GX regular arts, yeah, that's basically what's going to happen. And so there is a chase to the Gem Mint 10, on the Burning Shadows Hyper Rare Charizard. Yes. I mean, you like the Ho-Oh from the set. There's other cards, too, that you might like. But everyone buys that card, buys the set for the Charizard.
Correct.
So when you open the pack and you pull out a card that's got whitening all the way around it, and it's got little edges, just like they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, we're talking about 2016 or 2017. Is that what 2017?
I believe, maybe I think it's 2017.
They were printed probably all the way into, the beginning of this year, or at least had stuff on hand until the beginning of this year. I mean, that shouldn't happen. But it does, and it just adds a little bit to the chase. It's kind of like other cards that are really tough to get in PSA 10, like the Eevee or the Venusaur or the T17. It just adds an extra element to it, but you're going to find the PSA 10s because it was still out during a time when PSA was a little bit more lenient on that PSA 10.
Okay. Now, if a card was pack fresh, but it did have whitening on it around the card or whatnot, and it was a Charizard, it was Hyper Charizard, what kind of price tag do you think you would put on it?
Honestly, it just depends on how bad that whitening or whatever it is. You know, if you're talking about a card that is packed fresh, but it's obviously not going to get a 10, it's a 7, then I would go look up whatever the PSA 7 price is and probably cut under that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I got EpicTube HD here, also in the live chat, asking another question. He goes, can Rusty say how much he makes a year dealing Pokemon? Only ask because he makes so many high-dollar deals. If too personal, completely understand. I was just curious.
Well, like all in all sales, you know, including PayPal, eBay, that kind of stuff, it was just over $1 million last year. But this year, I'm already outpacing everything I did last year, and it's only August. But then again, this is not profit. This is, you know, how much I make, you know, in total bringing in for the sales for eBay, PayPal, you know, the money that comes through Patreon. I sell on Troll and Toad. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about working on a smaller margin for the profit and living off of that, and you have to pay your self-employment taxes. Right. I mean, you're looking at 35% in taxes based on every dollar that you profit on. It really cuts it back quite a bit, but that's about what it takes, just about the minimum that you need to live, you know, full time if you have a family.
Correct. Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, that's anything with business. You know, starting any, not just Pokemon in general, any business. That's usually typically how it works. Now, as far as market goes, how oftentimes have you set the market price?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of times when I do list stuff, I'll sell it for a lot higher than what the market is if it's something that I really want. Like, I was super surprised when that base set box I put online for $12,000 a couple months ago, and it sold. The person paid over 13 grand for it, and at the time you could still find them for $10,000. Yeah. So there was a market price lower than mine, but I was able to sell for a little bit more because they were paying a premium. But normally when you set the market price, it's because there's really not much data because you're first to market. That'll happen a lot of times with this newer stuff because in general I'll have stuff off the PSA, you know, the week before it technically releases, and then I'll get it back pretty quickly. So I'm just guessing on whatever the price is going to be.
Makes sense. So what do you think what was your reaction when you saw this new VMAX Charizard from Darkness Blaze posted for $10,000?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you had the shiny Charizard GX that went for 10K in the black one as soon as it come out. But I mean, I think people learned their lesson a little bit on that one as well. And this isn't as limited of a release, so I don't think it's quite as comparable. But you know, like I said, it doesn't surprise me. People are going to ask high prices if they think they can get it.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you think the VMAX Charizard from the new set is going to be more common like the other VMAXs, or do you think like they made this a lot rarer than the others? Because I've seen some openings so far, right? I don't have any early product, but I've seen people that have early product, and it seems like they're pulling this Charizard VMAX without too many issues, right? What are your analytics as far as how many Charizards do you think there'll be per case from what you've seen or, you know, thought about?
I don't think it's going to be anything out of the ordinary. I think it's just going to be a tougher pull. It's just going to be a tough pull, and just because of how many cards are within the set. And I think the quality, I mean, it should be good. It should continue to be good, so it should be an easy PSA 10. I think because of Hidden Fates, there's going to be a lot of those where people are going to be submitting them at a super high rate to PSA, so you're going to have a pop that's just going to, you know, crank up, and it's going to go up very, very quickly.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you have any plans for? I know it's still pretty early for it, but any plans for Champion's Path that's coming out?
I'm going to invest pretty heavily in the Elite Trainers, and then the rest of the set so far is kind of like, I don't know. Maybe when we know a little bit more about the set, but the Elite Trainer that has the Charizard VMAX in there, I think that's going to be a home run. Yeah. Just because it's going to be limited set, limited Elite Trainers. But I've already been told that from my distributor, he's had people trying to order 1,000 cases.
Wow.
That's 10,000 elite trainers. I mean, you're talking about $300,000 just on those things. So for me, if people can order 1,000 cases and put them back in their personal collection or do whatever they want to with, not get it from a place like Walmart. I mean, they've got to order probably 10,000 cases or something crazy like that. But putting in life-changing money just to one set that could be mass-produced and printed by a company, to me that seems a little crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the best product just because of the VMAX Charizard. You'll be able to open it and grade that Charizard. It's going to pay for the elite trainer no matter if it gets a 9 or a 10. You're going to be able to get your money back on that. But the set itself, I'm still deciding. I'm not sure that. I think it's more comparable to like a Dragon Majesty set, but we'll just have to see.
Do you think people are freaking out over Champion's Path because a lot of them missed out that Hidden Fates ETB run and the Ultimate Collection run and everything that was pretty much limited at one point, right? Aside from the 10s.
In a way, yeah, but Hidden Fates is a completely different beast. It's got that subset of 94 cards.
Yeah.
That are shinies, and it's got a chase card. It's got the shiny GX, it has the evolutions. It has a lot going on for it.
It does.
So I think Hidden Fates, it's going to completely outclass almost really any modern set that's going to come out.
Agreed. Now, there's rumors of a print run for Hidden Fates in September, right? Coming out, re-releasing again for what, third time technically, fourth maybe. Speculation on that. Do you think that's going to increase the value of Hidden Fates, or do you think it's going to decrease the value, or do you think it's going to stay the same?
Well, I assume you're talking about the 10s that are coming out.
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to, anytime you have a print run, it's going to bring the value down some. But I think the set is so popular. People they genuinely enjoy opening up Hidden Fates booster packs. And there's a lot of chase cards in there. I mean, you almost always get your money back. I mean, if you open up 4 packs, you're probably going to pull something worth, those packs, whatever you paid for it.
I agree. Especially at a PSA 10, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially at a PSA, and they're easy PSA 10s.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a fun set. People like it. It hits a home run, I think, with the cards that are inside of it, and appealing to both collectors and players. So I think that it's going to make the price come down some, but it's not going to be a huge print run unless they just like print it into the ground. I don't see it affecting the Hidden Fates prices to where it's going to make them bottom out or something like that. It's still going to sell out. They're going to sell out completely. And then if they decide to reprint again down the road, I can see it as a good move on Pokemon's side because they're going to make money off of it.
Agreed.
Maybe not so much a good move on us because every time we buy in another reprint, it's just like, can't believe you did this again. Is this Generations? What's going on?
Yeah. Sudan's segment here with a question. What's Rusty's prediction on the Rainbow Rare VMAX Zard card? Will it be released? If so, when?
Well, it's going to come out sometime. I don't know when. I don't keep up with the new stuff quite as much as I used to. But if it does release, I think that if it's got good artwork, it's going to, everybody's going to be chasing after it just like any other hyper rare card.
Of course.
I mean, probably the most lackluster Charizard, hyper rare from the Essence era was the Charizard and Braxton GX or whatever that was. And, it's still worth quite a bit of money if you pull it. I mean, it outclasses the Unified's Mewtwo versus Mew GX, which everybody thought was going to be crazy. If you put Charizard on it and you make it, some rarity like hyper rare where it's just a little bit tougher to pull than something else and give it a little bit. I mean, it's not really exclusive, but it does have a little bit of a chase to it. People are on it. It's going to do well. The whole set's going to do good.
Well, I remember for a while, too, now that you bring up Charizard and Breaks, and like that card was going for $40 easy on eBay, right? And I remember flipping over to eBay one day, and next thing you know, it's like a $200 card raw.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, when did this happen? What do you think happened with that? Was it because they announced that they're not doing any more cosmetic clips? Was it just the market going bananas? Or was it, some other anonymous reason out there?
Well, I think people had learned their lesson by the time that set had come out. It's kind of like this Champion's Path. I think people are going to probably overbuy. And so it's going to make it a lot more common to find in the beginning. Because I almost bought out the market as well when I think it was around $60 at release. I'm like, man, this is just crazy.
Yeah.
I should just buy it fall. But then I was like, no, I mean, the price is still going down every day, so I'm gonna just let it go. And then, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened between the 40 and the $200 price. People were wanting to invest, but then they were like, no, the prices went down too much. And then next thing you know, it's gone and the opportunity's gone.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think a lot of people are kicking themselves in the behind about that one too, because I mean, who doesn't want to make such and such percentage on a card, right? From initial investment. Centurion XYZ here with the question as well. Will it be more worthwhile opening the ETBs or holding on to the sealed cases? I'm assuming he's talking about Champion's Path.
It's a tough one. I'm probably going to open up maybe 5 or 10 cases and send in the Charizards to be graded. If they're sealed, which, a lot of the Elite Trainer promos have been recently, I would love to have them graded sealed. However, that may not be the case. You may just have to grade the Charizards. There's a lot of people out there who work on the Charizard master set list, and pretty much the people who aren't, they still want a Charizard VMAX that's going to be a PSA 10. So that may be the better route, but it may also be the same route that everyone else chooses. So I'm going to keep some sealed because the Elite Trainer boxes inevitably will be more expensive down the road sealed. But I think you've got a lot of potential as well to grade the Charizard VMAX. It depends more, for me, it just depends more on the contents of the Champion's Path set itself, the packs that are inside of it. But I don't think, unless they just throw in some really cool secret rares, I don't think it's going to be up to the standard of something like Shining Legends. I think it's going to be a little bit better than Dragon Majesty, but probably not as good as Shining Legends.
Okay. Now, Golden Wardle here has a great question as well. It kind of just ties into what you were just talking about. How many booster boxes do you open per new release for grading?
Well, for Rebel Clash, I didn't open up any. And the reason I didn't open up any from Rebel Clash is one, they didn't have that chase card.
Correct.
Two, the virus had shut down PSA, so I was like, by the time I get them back, it's going to be next year. And before that, with Sun and Moon base set, I opened up, I think it was maybe 5 or 10 cases or something like that, just enough to where I could usually get anywhere between 10 and 15 of the regular GXs, and then for like the full arts, hyper rares, that kind of stuff, I get anywhere between 3 and 8, something like that. Okay. And that way I send them all off to be graded, and then when they come back, I've got enough to meet the customers who want to have to make the sets, but I also get a better feel of the market.
Yeah.
Because you got to think the time of you opening them and sending them off to PSA and you actually getting them back, there's usually about a 3-month gap, 2-month gap, depending on how you submit them.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, you're going to have a lot of people who open up those packs and just sell off the singles. And when they sell me their collections, I'm still pulling in a lot of those extra cards. So you have to factor in, what your particular situation is, because if you're not constantly buying other people's collections, then you may want to open up more boxes and grade more if you're making good money off of it. But I would look at the set as well. Rebel Clash, like I said, I didn't open up any because of what was going on.
Yeah, makes sense. How does that process work for you, by the way? Do you get your family down? You guys just start cracking boxes open, or is that just like a solo dolo kind of thing you do?
For a while there, it was just me, but I do hire out my mom and my dad, sometimes my wife. And I used to do lots more, like upwards of 100 cases, I would have plenty of people coming in. I mean, we would crank this stuff out. We'd try to have everything opened up, sorted in alphabetical order, and me taking pictures of all the individual cards within the first few days that we got the stuff. I mean, we would work stupid hours. I think the fastest I ever opened up a 36 count box is right under 3 minutes, and this is completely sorted as well.
Wow.
And I mean, you just get through it. I mean, you're starting to open packs, and you don't even look at stuff. You just crank through it. And my mom, she's usually scanning codes for the website, but it's not going to happen that way with this new set because my dad just got out of the hospital, so he had 2 heart attacks. My mom's taking care of him, and then my wife is going to probably be looking after our 3 kids because somebody looking after them during the day too.
Yeah, no doubt. It's pretty much sounds like you guys had this conveyor line set up, just ready to start cranking it out. What was the teaching process? Did you have to sit down with your parents, like, listen, this is how it's worked, or were they kind of just knew how to open packs and get the card sorted that you wanted, and how did that whole process? Was it a teaching moment?
It was a teaching moment in regards to me and learning how my parents actually operate. If I put my mom and dad down across from the same table, they would be talking to each other, and my mom, she has long fingernails, so she would take forever opening the pack. So that's when I decided to put her on the codes because I've got a PTCGO scanner with my phone, so she has a constant rate that she has to keep up with
Yeah.
because the ding, and then my dad, he was a fast opener, so I would put him on opening, and then my children, they like coming in and opening different things, so I would have them pick up coins or throw away trash or different things. You just try to optimize, each person's ability based on what they can do.
That's freaking awesome. Just putting the family to work. I freaking love it. Cranking out Pokemon cards like nobody's business. That's awesome. I got Pokemon Hollow here with a question here, Rusty. It says, ask if he knows if Ultra Prism is having a reprint. Few people have seen them new stock and talked about, I'm assuming, the Ultra Prism boxes they now have at Walmart. I know they restocked those. So they want to know if they're having a reprint.
I mean, there was a reprint. I don't know if they're going to do it again. I got 5 cases in myself, or 5 or 10 cases in, and I offered a few out to my patrons. But yeah, I mean, that's why prices tanked from like $500 to 180 or wherever it is right now.
Yeah.
People have been calling it. After Roaring Skies, nobody took anything for granted for not being reprinted, and it just took them a while on Ultra Prism. I think they should have done it before now.
Yeah.
They could have sold boxes because of the playability of Cynthia, but now it's just kind of like irrelevant almost. I'm not sure why they reprinted it other than the fact that the box was $500.
Yeah, no doubt. I got Epic Tube HT here also with a really good question. What is your thought on the influx of flippers that have entered into the market over the past year? Gary Vaynerchuk's call to raid Pokemon.
They come and go. I mean, go for it. I mean, if you can buy something for $3,000 and you can sell it for $5,000, then you're using that knowledge to your advantage. I don't think that it's ever a bad thing because it's just going to, if the market's going to self-adjust. So if half of the market is just people trying to resell an item, then either way they're going to have a position on what they're buying, or they're going to have to sell it sooner rather than later, and the price is going to come back down. I mean, a flip is just a term for a short-term seller, and that's what a lot of people do with this new product. When you buy the Champions Path Elite Trainers and you're looking to sell everything that's in it within 6 months, then I mean that's what you're doing. You're just selling in the short term. You're not keeping it for a long-term type of deal. So I mean, I guess if you're looking at it just from the flipper aspect of maybe somebody's trying to manipulate the market, it's hard to do with any item because you have to be invested yourself. And either way, it's either you're holding on to it for a short amount of time or you're holding on to it for a long amount of time. And there's a certain amount of risk no matter what you're investing in.
No doubt, for sure. Completely agreed. And by the way, I got a bunch of people in the chat right now wishing best families to you, or best of luck to you and your family and everything that's going on right now, and for speedy recoveries. So I want to take this matter into something else. YouTube. So when did you decide to do YouTube? Like, what was the deciding factor? What were you looking to get out of it?
So my very first video was for the 4 position only cards. At this point, I had no experience with videos whatsoever. In fact, I had this is the camera that I use. I still use this dinky little camera.
Wow.
This is what I use for my picture. I use this to record for the 4 position only cards because I was like, this is pretty groundbreaking stuff. I mean, it's cards that have never shown up before. We're 15 years into the game because I think it was 2013. So I wanted to record it, even if it was pretty crappy or cruddy. I just wanted to get it on camera, see it, and that's what started it. And after that, I mean, I got a good response. I just started recording stuff that I normally do during my everyday, and people loved it.
Yeah, no doubt. And on top of that, you just put a very, very informational content out there. And I think a lot of collectors, or especially new collectors into the market, right, learn a lot from your videos because, I mean, like I said, you were just a walking, talking wealth of knowledge when it comes to Pokemon. It's just, and business too. You really know your stuff, man. And I think a lot of people take that from your videos. On top of that, you open a lot of great vintage stuff, right? Like, at least for me, it's things I wish I could just get my hands on and open up myself, because it's just, like you said earlier in the Pokecast, like, it's just that nostalgic factor. I remember, I tell a story every time, but I remember still standing in line with my mom and dad at Toys R Us, waiting 30 minutes to get my first pack of Pokemon and hoping I get the Charizard artwork, right? But then I get stuck with the Venusaur. But, it just brings back those memories. And watching your videos, although I'm not opening them, it still brings back those memories to me because it's just what I grew up with, right? The modern stuff is great. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy opening it. I love trying to get the chase cards, but there's something about vintage, right? At least for us, at least for me. You know, I'm 30 as well, and it's just one day, you know, I'm going to get those vintage packs. I'm finally going to be able to open them. But I love the nostalgia. And so, do you feel like you enjoy opening more vintage as well on your channel? How bad do you have to like kick yourself back from opening too much? Because like today, in the video posted, you're like, yeah, I'm going to open up just these packs of Team Rocket. And then you reach into the box, you're like, you know, one more. Let's just do one more. So how often times do you have to kind of like kick back and be like, you know, I slow down the vintage. I'll get to it in a later video.
Well, I try to slow myself down as much as I can, but you know, I like to enjoy it as well whenever I can. I know with like those Team Rocket packs, for example, if I had to, I could probably take every one of those cards and maximize the profit out of it somehow by selling it PSA 10 and get the money back.
Yeah.
So I use that as an excuse for me to be able to open up a little bit more. I don't know. After opening up that Correctus Blaine's Charizard, it's just kind of like refueled it again to where I just want to open up more stuff. But I had a lot of self-control about what I invested in and what I've opened up for many years, because that first edition base set box in 2016, that was only the second WotC box I had ever opened up. I only opened up one in the first 16 years or 26 years of my life. And that was a Neo Genesis first edition box that my dad had bought me from a flea market for $85.
Wow.
And, you know, stuff for super cheap. And I haven't opened up but a few boxes online. So I try to, if I do open up something, I put a little bit of thought into it. Like, you know, what's the potential, you know, how much am I actually spending? How much was my actual, how much did I put into it? And for me, that Team Rocket long booster box, that has just been my go-to way of indulging in a way, because I bought that box opened and it had 66 packs in it originally. And I still got, you know, probably 30, 40 packs in there.
Yeah.
So for me, if I do go to open something, that's just kind of been my personal piece to be able to open up. So I still got more enjoyment coming out of it.
There it is.
And I try to leave all the really high-end stuff that I can't get again, stuck in a box somewhere where I hopefully just forgotten about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all, because like I said, that stuff, if you can't come by it, right, like as far as this mark, you're paying an arm and a leg basically for it. So why open it if you got it right now, and at least save it for a later time, if anything. This is going to be an off-topic question, a little, not really off-topic, still in the trading card collection, but question. But what are your thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh and where it's headed? Like the new Toon Chaos, the Armageddon, and the 10,000 Dragon, etc. And is Yu-Gi-Oh his favorite?
All right, so I've heard a little bit about the new Yu-Gi-Oh stuff with the 10,000 Dragon. Somebody said it was a $1,500 card. I think Ike was talking to me about that. But I don't keep up with a lot of the new Yu-Gi-Oh much anymore. I used to when I ran a shop. I was into it pretty heavy, figuring the stuff out. But for me, I connect with the vintage Yu-Gi-Oh. I just have a few certain things that I have in my personal collection that I've set back, and I'm happy with that for now. Maybe I'll pursue a PSA 10 set and all the hollows and all the vintage sets one day, but I try to focus just on Pokemon so that I don't get too far off topic with stuff like Magic, and because I mean, I could blow all my money on Alpha Magic and never get anywhere.
Yeah.
So if I'm putting it in my personal collection, I'm just going to try to invest with a few things that I know will just satisfy my hunger for. I like playing Yu-Gi-Oh because I played Yu-Gi-Oh after Pokemon when I quit in middle school. Then it was a Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, the girls, and then it was back to Pokemon.
Of course.
There's a little bit of Magic in there. And I actually really love playing the Yu-Gi-Oh game, but I do connect with Yu-Gi-Oh a lot, and I think there are other people who do as well. It's just kind of like with Magic, the collector market isn't as broad.
Correct.
So you're not with Pokemon. I think every generation is going to connect with somebody. Like the people that are playing now with this new Generation 8, opening up packs, having fun with it. 20 years from now, they may be sitting in the same seats we're sitting in.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening with Yu-Gi-Oh, which in a way could mean it's a dying game, but I'm not going to use those terms because I think there is a good basis for Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's a lot of people who play the
Mm-hmm.
game, and just by playing the game in these stores and in tournaments, they're still developing that collector basis for those particular eras of modern trading cards.
That makes perfect sense. Now, do you still find time to play either Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or anything like that, or is that just kind of like
Not
once in a blue moon maybe?
I, I get it. I got into it so hard when I had Pokemon Card Shop. My last deck was a Buzzwole deck, but at that time it was just eating up so much of my time because I got into it hard. Like I had 10 different meta decks at the time, and man, I would play myself. I would play every customer that come in there. I would play my employees. I mean, I was eating up everybody's time because I just like thinking through the different strategies and try to figure out the best way to do something.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't collect Pokemon cards, I'd probably be playing and try to go for that trophy myself. But no, I don't do it anymore just because I get into it a little too hard. Kind of like with the Pokemon games, I just get addicted to wanting to get through the best, fastest way, and then go back and level up. It's just so time consuming. I couldn't.
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
for sure. It'll definitely kill a lot of time, especially like I remember when Pokemon Go first came out, right? Like all I was
Yeah.
doing was walking for miles, like down to the park, down to a place I probably wasn't supposed to be walking down to. You know what I mean? Like I was
Right.
always all over the place, but yeah, for sure, definitely very time consuming. Uh, do you think Pokemon should do another Team Rocket set, or do you think reprint of the first Team Rocket set?
I think Pokemon has waited long enough that they could about reprint anything and people would love it. They did some shining stuff, but I mean, really, the only cards that have gotten reprints are base set, and then some other random cards here and there, like the Slowpoke and stuff. But if they did a Team Rocket set or a Gold Star set or Neo Destiny or Neo Revel, I mean, people would just, I think they would love it. I mean, think about Evolutions. It was a reprint of base set, and it's already happened with that Charizard and Stormfront and Legendary Collection base set too. But people still love that card. And PSA 10, I mean, it's what, $1,000 or something like
Yeah.
that. I mean, price been all over the place on that card. It might even be more than that. But I think people would love it. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, because it would be a good money thing for them, and collectors would feel like they've been appealed to as well.
For sure. Now, when do you think? So, Pokemon for a little bit there, right? I don't know the exact years, but somewhere in the 2000s was a dying game for a little bit, right? What do you think brought it back to life?
Well, I mean, they did switch companies. I mean, Nintendo got the rights. WotC lost it in the 2002 2003 time frame. For me, that's when I graduated high school in 2008. And, at that time, stuff was super cheap. You could get, I remember seeing lots of 10 fossil packs that were constantly auctioned off. These are first edition fossil booster packs, lots of 10. You get them for $15. You could get complete fossil sets for $5. I remember seeing a Neo Genesis Unlimited booster box going in auction for $36.
Wow.
I mean, stuff was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
I think when people started going off to college and getting back into the game, they just started saying, "Hey, I could spend $50 and buy an entire booster box that I couldn't get when I was a kid. I'm going to do that."
Yeah.
My very first item that I bought, in fact, it was my brother for my 16th birthday. He bought me a base set booster box for $100, and I paid up for that, and I just set it back. And then when I went off to college, I wanted to complete my original 3 sets, but I didn't want to pay for it because Pokemon was so cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sold a few extra things. And I think when people started getting back into it for the collectability sake, that's when it started gaining momentum. And then people really started seeing it as an established market for collectability, and people were investing and speculating and getting into it and then collecting for themselves. And it just snowballed into what it is now.
Yeah. I agree, man. It's I mean, I love it. I love it. I love that it's peaking like this, and I mean, I want it to grow more. You know what I mean? It's just brings back nostalgia. It's a lot of fun. There's content out there to put out. It's just and I mean, for me personally, the Pokemon community has been great. I've met some great people through the Pokemon community that I never thought I would meet in my life. Right? I've talked to people that I never thought I would talk to in my life. And I think it's a game changer. It's a game changer for people mentally, and a game changer for people financially, and and it's a game changer for pure entertainment, for sure. Now I got Golden Wardle that has a pretty big question for you. He wants to know how many different PSA 10 Charizards you own.
I don't know. If you go to my the PSA set registry, the Charizard Master Set list, I've got most of them in there. I think that's all the different ones that PSA officially recognizes. I've got all those except for I think I'm missing 6 altogether, and then there's 2 or 3 that I don't have in a 10. But I've also, in addition to that, got some other ones like the 1999 2000 base, the corrected Charizard. Um, I mean, there's not a lot that they don't recognize, and I've got a lot of different tops ones as well.
Yeah.
But I don't have the complete set. I mean, I would just Jim Mint. He's probably got the best set. Him and that other Charizard guy that's on there, Charizard Perfection maybe or something. But if you're wanting straight numbers, I mean, I've got volume of a lot of them too. But
Yeah.
just almost one of all of them, not quite one of everyone.
How many do you think you have buried in there that you'd completely forgot about?
I don't know if I've completely forgot about a lot of them, but like Blaine's Charizards, I know I got 3 or 4 of those. First edition Dark Charizard's probably the one I don't have a complete count of. I think it's 8 or 9 on that one, just because those were stupid cheap at $500 for the longest time. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I mean, I've got a lot at PSA and a lot of the newer promo ones. I send those in mass quantities.
Yeah.
Like that Charizard Braxton GX that come out in a deck. God, man, I've got like stacks.
Oh, man.
The raw ones that I just sent off to PSA.
Yeah.
Same with the Dragon Majesty Let's Play Charizard,
Mm-hmm.
the non-raw one. I mean, I sent off giant stacks of that one, and the World Championship one, I probably sent off 2 stacks of that one. Took them forever to get that one right.
Man, it just blows my mind here talking to you because you're just riddling off these cards, right? That I completely forget about. You're like, let's play Charizard, this card. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot about that card. Yeah, that exists. Your knowledge is wild, man. Like, it's honestly mind-blowing. You brought up tops. So, I talked to Romstyle last weekend, and he's been on the search for that Ghost Lugia. Do you know one of those Ghost Lugias?
I might. I had a huge tops find, and there were 6 first appearance cards. I remember there was a Ho-Oh, a Ladybug, and I thought the Lugia that I had, but I don't want to say for sure. I think there was 3 that I had. I picked up 1 more, and I'm missing 2 of them. But I don't have it in PSA 10 or anything like that. I know I don't have it in PSA 10 because those were notorious for having like crinkles around the edges, so that they were like a really tough grade.
No doubt. Do you still have any sealed Topps cards?
If I do, it's not many. Like I might have a stray box here and there. Like I know I've got a Topps Chrome booster box on eBay. And then I might have some packs and stuff that I just threw in boxes. Again, trying to just forget about.
Yeah, no doubt. I was wondering because I know a lot of people have been trouble opening up Topps packs, right? Because they like to stick together and just ruins the value of the card and whatnot, and it just messes up the complete gradability of it. So I was just wondering if you had any trouble with the Topps collection you may have or purchased out there. But Rusty, we have been at it for more than an hour, dude. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I can honestly sit here and talk to you all day. But I know you got a lot going on. You got a busy life, you got a busy family, and I know you don't do Pokemon on the weekend. So it's a Thursday, so I don't want to take up any more of your time because I know you probably got a lot of stuff to do before the weekend rolls around. So I want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with me, for responding to me so much and agreeing to be on the Pokecast. And I know the Rob Mob and all the viewers down in the road will appreciate this also because, honestly, you are a pleasure, dude. And I really enjoyed talking to you during this Pokecast, man.
All right. Same.
So, all right, man. Well, I will catch you on the next one. I look forward to more of your videos. And you might want to cover your ears. So every time I end my Pokecast, I usually do it with my intro. And I kind of yell into the mic. So I don't want to blast any mirrors or windows out there, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it. So, Rob Mob, until next time. Rob Mob! Catch you on the next one. Rusty, thanks again, dude. I appreciate it.
All right.
See y'all later.